Okay, this is 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. Um, Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a workman who does not need to be ashamed and who correctly handles the word of truth. Okay, um, that verse to me has a lot of deep meaning to it that on the surface it just says do your best to present yourself to God as one approved. Okay, so that means that it's all up to you. And so, you know, if one person does their best, they might do a whole lot better than me if I'm, say, doing my best. So, I think that there's a lot more meaning to it. Meaning, what I mean by there's more to it is that um, it might not be up to the person. It might not be an individualized thing. Because if I compare that verse to what Jesus said when he said, "Be holy as I am holy," he didn't say, "Do your best to be holy as I am holy." So contrasting those two verses, I find it interesting that on the one hand, when Jesus says, "Be holy as I am holy," there's no option. It's just a command. It's just like this. This is how you do it. Period. Um, well, that I find that completely impossible for me because all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, according to Romans 3:10. Um, no, Romans 3:23. But anyway, so how can a sinner be holy as Jesus is holy? Jesus never sinned. I'm a sinner. Well, it's because if I confess my sin to Jesus, he forgives me. He's a mediator. 1 John 1:9. If you confess your sin, he is faithful, he is just, he will forgive you, and he will cleanse you from all unrighteousness. So, the only way for me to be holy as Jesus is holy is by confessing my sin to him and asking for forgiveness from Jesus. Okay, now going back to the 2 Timothy verse about do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a workman who does not need to be ashamed and who correctly handles the word of God. Um, what do I need to do my best? Okay, so there's some works there for me. Okay, it's not saying be perfect, be a perfect workman, be perfectly approved. No, it's saying do your best. So that kind of gives me a little leeway to be imperfect. Um, but when I'm going to do my best to be holy, the first thing that comes to my mind is, okay, I know what I need to do. I need to be reading the Bible every day. Okay, I need to, find time every day to spend time reading the Word of God. Okay, I know that's an absolute need if I'm going to do my best to present myself to God as one approved, a workman who does not need to be ashamed, and who correctly handles the word of truth. Another thing I'm going to need to do, going back to the holiness, is I'm going to need to be, reviewing my life and finding faults and sins and confessing those sins to God. And, that's another thing that I can do to do my best. And not only confessing those sins and leaving them behind, but also remembering my weaknesses in my regular daily life, and the people that I'm sinning against or who are involved with my sin, and praying for them, and praying that God would help me to be loving to them and not sin against them, and also praying, that I can avoid those kind of situations that prevent me from doing my best to present myself to God as one approved, a workman who does not need to be ashamed, correctly handles the word of truth. And I think that's um, correctly handling the word of truth. Okay, so that's about all I have to say on that verse.